After my last video talking about all the hate that Sword Art Online gets, a good point was brought to my attention by MCBoy112. When Kirito obtained admin access, why didn't he bring back the log out button, or even log out himself instead of saving Yui? It is a good question. If you were trapped in a digital world for over a year and you suddenly obtain the system privileges to escape the game, wouldn't your first thought be to try your hardest to do an administrator logout? To answer this dilemma, we need to look back at Season 1, Episode 12. Forgive me for having to use images to describe scenarios and moments rather than raw episode footage. I'm forced to do this because of copyright issues. So what actually happens in Episode 12? To avoid some filler, we'll fast forward a bit to Kirito and Asuna deciding to help Yulier find her friend who is trapped in a dungeon. The dungeon ends up containing a trapped corridor with an extremely powerful enemy, the Fatal Scythe. Yui stands up to the enemy and instantly defeats him, revealing her true identity. Yui is a mental health counseling program. She was designed to put players at ease using complex emotions. Yui was banned by the Cardinal system at the start of SAO, not allowing her to help players' mental health, forcing her to simply observe the horrors people were experiencing throughout the game. As time went on, she discovered Asuna and Kirito and saw how their mental health was different. It was joyful and full of love. With this knowledge, she somehow brute forced her way onto the playing field in search of the two. In the present, Yui then tells Kirito that her only desire is to stay with them forever as their child. But that can't happen. Yui is to be deleted because she used admin privileges to terminate the Fatal Scythe. It is also very important to note that she accessed these privileges through an emergency admin console, which is now in the very room that all three characters are currently in. After Yui is terminated, Kirito jumps on the console and manages to transfer Yui's program into a small trinket known as Yui's heart. This is where our dilemma begins. Having means of entry into an administrator console is a huge deal, and the question of why didn't Kirito attempt to log out or access the protocol for the logout button is a big question. While there's no definitive answer to this problem, I think there are many possibilities as to why Kirito didn't or decided not to find a logout system. Let's look at the main reason, and I'm sure what would be the main defense as well. Kirito had very limited time on this console, and it happened directly after Yui had been taken from him and Asuna. He felt anger and fear for losing his AI daughter, so the only thought going through his mind was, I need to save Yui. He briefly did just that and was quickly locked out of the console. Kirito didn't think to find a logout because it wasn't even remotely his first priority at the time. He wanted to save someone he loved over locating a means of escape. While that is the main point of contention, there are other things to look at. For instance, would there actually be some sort of logout button for an administrator, or even a way to bring back a logout button? Typically, I would say yes, an administrator needs all system access to follow through with their tasks, but in this instance there are no human administrators except for Kayaba, the creator of Sword Art Online. He is the only one with the ability to freely leave the game. I'm sure one of his first points of order was to ensure that every account, including all administrator accounts except for his, were to be terminated of the option to log off the game. While it is possible that access to the option was available in some way, I think it is in all probability not the case. And if it were, I'm sure it would need some sort of command or code within that console. Another piece of the puzzle is the fact that Yui is a program. Her accessing that admin console means that it is her account logging in as admin. An AI's account would surely have no need or means for a logout button. An AI can't log out of the game and go back to the real world, so giving these programs or automated systems access to such privileges would be absolutely pointless and a waste of time. Keeping these points in mind, I think we can assume that Kirito was not only not in the mindset to log out of the game, but in all likelihood couldn't even do so if he wanted to. If you were put into the same situation, would your number one thought be to attempt to retrieve your AI daughter that you cared for with the little time you had left to use the console, or dive into the system to have a very, very slim chance of obtaining an escape from the hell of Aincrad? We are humans with deep emotions, so obviously we would immediately scout for some sort of way to bring back the one we loved. This was just a quick dive into a question that I thought was fascinating. If you're someone who has an interesting point or an apparent plot hole that you found while watching Sword Art or browsing the internet, please let me know in the comments. I had a lot of fun making this video and I'd love to do it again with some other intriguing observation. Thanks for watching the video, and hey, if you enjoyed it, a like and a subscription help out a ton, plus they're free. So long.